Put this powder inside your mommy's soup. Don't tell anyone, Teacher Caro said softly to little Junior. Junior was only 3 years old. He was still learning how to talk well. He did not know what powder meant. He did not even know what secret really meant. To him, Teacher Caro was just the woman that gave him sweets and clapped for him when he sang nursery rhymes. So Junior only smiled, the way small children smile when they want to please an adult. Okay, Auntie, he said happily. I will put it. I will not tell Mommy. Teacher Caro bent down and touched his cheek like she was proud of him. Good boy, she said with a sweet voice. Tomorrow I will give you another sweet. Junior's eyes shined. Another sweet tomorrow? That sounded like the best thing in the world. Teacher Caro stood up, looked around quickly, and walked away like nothing happened. Then she brought out her phone and made a call, turning her body so nobody could see her face well. Hello, Ma, she whispered. I have given him the thing. Everything is going as planned. A woman's voice answered, calm and sharp. Good. You will get your money soon. Teacher Caro swallowed and nodded, even though the woman could not see her. Yes, Ma, Teacher Caro replied, then ended the call. Her face looked normal, but her eyes were cold. Now let's go back to where it's all started. That same morning, Vivian was busy in her room, dressing her son, Junior, for his first day in a new school. She had been excited and nervous since the night before. She ironed his small uniform carefully and even brushed his hair twice to make him look neat. Junior, stand still, she begged, as he kept turning and laughing. You want to look fine for your new teacher, Abby? Junior giggled and shook his head like he was dancing. Vivian smiled even though she was tired. She loved him so much. Junior was her first child, and she treated him like gold. She even packed small snacks in his lunchbox and wrote his name on his water bottle. Onyeka, her husband, stood by the door and watched them. He looked proud. My people, he said with a smile, first day of school. God will guide him. Vivian carried Junior and kissed his cheek. Amen, she said. He will be fine. Onyeka walked closer and held Junior's hand. Be a good boy, he told him. Listen to your teacher. Junior nodded like he understood. Then Onyeka looked at Vivian. Take good care of him, Vivian, he said, and call me if anything happens. Vivian laughed. Nothing will happen. It is just school. She waved goodbye and stepped outside with Junior. But across the street, someone else was watching. Miss Vera. She stood behind her curtain, peeking like a lizard watching prey. Her face was tight with jealousy, her lips pressed together like she was holding bitterness inside her mouth. See her, Vera hissed under her breath. You took Onyeka from me, and you think you will be happy. You think you will enjoy marriage while I suffer. Her eyes followed Vivian and Junior as they walked away. I will deal with you, she whispered. Vivian did not see her, but as she walked, she suddenly felt a strange tightness inside her chest. It was like her body was warning her that something was not right. She slowed down for a second and looked around. What is it, Mommy? Junior asked, swinging her hand. Vivian forced a smile. Nothing, my baby, let's go. She ignored the feeling and continued walking. When Vivian got to the school gate, she noticed the school looked clean and calm. Children were running around, some were crying, some were laughing. Parents were talking, adjusting uniforms and giving last-minute advice. Vivian held Junior's hand tightly and entered. A woman walked up to them. She wore a neat dress and a small smile on her face, but her eyes did not look warm, they looked hard, like stones. Good morning, the woman greeted. Good morning, Ma, Vivian replied politely. I'm Vivian. This is my son, Junior. Today is his first day. The woman nodded slowly. I am Teacher Caro, she said. I will be his class teacher. Vivian smiled. Please take good care of my son. Of course, Madam, Teacher Caro replied. Her voice was polite, but something in it made Vivian uncomfortable. Vivian could not explain it. It was not the words, it was the way Teacher Caro said them. It sounded like she was acting, like she was pretending. Still, Vivian told herself she was just being paranoid. She knelt down beside Junior. Be a good boy. I'll come and pick you later, she said. Junior nodded and waved. Bye-bye, Mommy. Vivian left, but she turned back once to look at him. Junior was already walking inside with Teacher Caro, holding her finger like a small obedient child. Vivian sighed. He will be fine, she whispered again. School hours passed. Children played. They sang. They learned small things. Junior was happy because he liked the toys and the songs, but when school was almost over, Teacher Caro did something strange. She waited until many parents were already outside and other children were busy with themselves. Then she called Junior quietly. "Junior," she said, "come here." Junior ran to her. Teacher Caro looked around. "Come closer," she said again, lowering her voice. Junior came closer and looked up at her, innocent and trusting. Teacher Caro brought out a sweet and gave him. Junior's face brightened like someone turned on a light. "Sweet," he shouted. "Shh," Teacher Caro warned gently. "Don't shout." Junior quickly covered his mouth with his hand. Teacher Caro smiled as if she found him cute. "Do you want more tomorrow?" Junior nodded fast. "Yes, Auntie." Teacher Caro then brought out a very small nylon that had a fine powder inside. She placed it inside his little hand and closed his fingers around it. "Listen," she said slowly, like she was talking to a baby. "When your mommy gives you soup to eat, pour this inside. Don't tell her or anyone. It is our secret." Junior blinked. He did not understand what she meant, but he understood one thing. If he does what she says, he will get more sweet tomorrow. "Okay, Auntie," he replied. Teacher Caro touched his head. "Good boy." And just like that, she turned and walked away like nothing happened. As Junior stood there, holding the small nylon, Teacher Caro secretly called someone. It was Miss Vera. "The work is done," Teacher Caro said. "Well done," Vera replied immediately. "Your money is ready." Teacher Caro ended the call, her face still calm. That evening, as Vivian left home to pick Junior, Miss Vera also made a call. She called Onyeka. Onyeka answered, annoyed. "Hello?" Vera quickly cleared her throat and spoke like she was worried. "Onyeka," she said, pretending to sound sad, "I didn't want to say this, but I overheard something very bad." Onyeka frowned. "What are you talking about?" Vera lowered her voice. "I heard Vivian saying she wants to harm your son, that she wants to use him for rituals." Onyeka froze, then anger rushed into him like fire. "Don't ever mention my wife's name like that again," he shouted. "You are my ex. Stay away from my family." Before Vera could add more, Onyeka cut the call. Vera stared at her phone, then smiled slowly. "We shall see," she whispered. Vivian reached the school and waited at the gate. Junior ran out and jumped into her arms. "My baby!" Vivian laughed. "How was school?" Junior smiled. "It was fine, Mommy." Vivian kissed him. "You're a strong boy." She did not check his pocket. She did not suspect anything. Why would she? She was only thinking of food and rest. Junior carried the small nylon in his pocket all the way home. At home, Vivian went into the kitchen to warm soup for him. She had cooked earlier and she only needed to heat it up small. Junior was in his room playing. He brought out the nylon and stared at it. He remembered Teacher Caro's words, even if he didn't understand them fully. "Pour it inside," he whispered to himself, copying her voice like a child. Vivian poured the soup into a bowl and carried it to the sitting room where Junior could eat comfortably. She placed it on a small table in front of him. "Eat slowly, my baby," she warned. "It is still hot." She kissed his head and turned back to the kitchen to arrange a few things. Onyeka sat on a chair, quiet. He was looking at his phone, but his mind was not settled. Miss Vera's lie kept coming back to him like a bad song that would not stop playing. "Your wife wants to harm the boy," Vera's voice repeated in his head. Onyeka shook his head slowly. "No," he whispered to himself, "Vivian can never do that." But still, the fear entered his heart like a small needle. Behind them, Junior put his hand into his pocket. He brought out the nylon carefully. He looked around. His mother was facing the kitchen. His father was distracted. So Junior did what Teacher Caro told him. Slowly, he poured the powder into the soup. Then he stirred it with his spoon like he was mixing sugar in tea. After that, he began to eat. Vivian glanced from the kitchen and smiled. She felt happy. She loved watching her son eat what she made. But suddenly, Junior made a strange sound. "My stomach," he cried, grabbing his belly. Vivian turned sharply. "Junior?" The spoon dropped from Junior's hand. His face changed. The smile disappeared. "Mommy!" he screamed again, louder. Vivian rushed out of the kitchen. Onyeka also stood up quickly. Junior was shaking. His breathing was becoming strange. Then blood started coming out from his nose. "Jesus!" Vivian screamed. Onyeka's heart jumped into his throat. He carried Junior immediately. "Junior! Junior!" Vivian cried, touching his face. "My baby, talk to me." Neighbors began to rush in because of the shouting. People gathered at the door. Some were whispering. Some were asking questions. "Call a doctor," someone shouted. "Call a hospital," another person yelled. Vivian was crying and shaking. Onyeka held Junior tighter, feeling his small body growing weak, and then Onyeka remembered Miss Vera's words. His eyes turned to Vivian, full of fear and anger mixed together. "You did this," he said, his voice shaking. "You poisoned him." Vivian stared at him like she didn't hear well. "What?" she cried. "Onyeka, are you okay? Why would you say that?" "You made the soup," Onyeka shouted. "You gave it to him." "I made soup because he was hungry," Vivian cried back. "I did not put anything inside it." People inside the house began to talk louder. Some looked at Vivian with suspicion, some looked at Onyeka with pity. Then Miss Vera pushed through the crowd, acting shocked like she just arrived. "Oh my God," she said loudly. "What happened?" Onyeka shouted, pointing at Vivian. "She poisoned our son." Vera covered her mouth like she was scared, but her eyes looked pleased for 1 second before she quickly hid it. She faced the neighbors and spoke loudly so everyone could hear. "Well, if she did not poison her child," Vera said, "then let her drink the remaining soup and prove her innocence." The room became noisy. "Yes, drink it," people shouted. "Drink it if you are innocent." Vivian backed away, shaking her head. "Are you all mad?" she cried. "My child is dying and you want me to start proving things. Call the hospital." But people kept shouting. Onyeka held Junior tightly, confused and broken. Fear was controlling him. He didn't know what to believe anymore. Vivian's hands trembled as she looked at the bowl. "Lord," she whispered, crying, "you know my heart." She reached for the bowl, and in that moment, a dog suddenly ran into the house, barking wildly. It jumped up, hitting Vivian's body. The bowl flew out of her hands and smashed on the floor, spilling the soup everywhere. Everyone gasped. "She did it on purpose," someone shouted. "That's why she didn't drink it," another person yelled. Vivian screamed, "No, the dog pushed me. I was about to drink it." But nobody listened. Outside, as people argued, Junior's breathing became weaker in Onyeka's arms. Onyeka shouted, "Move, we are going to the hospital now." He pushed through the crowd with Junior. Vivian followed, crying and begging people to help, but behind the house, Miss Vera's phone rang. Vera walked away quietly, smiling. "Hello?" she said in a low voice. "Yes," she continued, moving toward the back of the compound. "He has eaten it. Everything worked well. That foolish woman is being blamed." She chuckled softly. "The teacher did her part. I will send the rest of the money soon. Nobody suspects us." She ended the call, but she did not know Onyeka had stepped behind the fence for a second, trying to breathe, trying to think, trying to decide whether to carry Junior to the car or call an ambulance. And as Onyeka stood there, he heard Vera's voice clearly. "Teacher Caro gave him the powder," Vera said again, laughing. "I told her what to do." Onyeka's whole body froze. His heart stopped for a moment. He stepped out suddenly and grabbed Vera's arm hard. "Vera," he shouted, "what did you just say?" Vera's face turned pale like someone poured cold water on her. "Onyeka, I was just joking," she stammered. Onyeka's eyes burned with rage and pain. "You used my son," he shouted, "just to hurt my wife?" People rushed to the backyard when they heard the noise. Vivian also ran there, her eyes swollen from crying, her hands shaking. "What is happening?" she cried. Onyeka pointed at Vera. "She did it," he shouted to everyone. "She planned it with Junior's teacher. I heard her confess with my own ears." The crowd gasped. Some people covered their mouths, some people started shouting. Vera tried to pull her hand free. She tried to run, but the men around quickly held her. "Call the police," someone yelled. Vera screamed, "Leave me, you people are mad." Vivian looked at Onyeka, confused and shaking. "Onyeka, Junior, where is Junior?" she cried. Onyeka suddenly remembered. Junior. He turned sharply. Junior was still inside the car. Or was he? Where did they put him? Who was holding him now? Onyeka's voice broke. "Go to the car," he shouted. "Somebody check Junior. Hurry." Everyone began to scatter and rush. And at that same time, a police siren sound started coming from the distance, getting louder and closer. Vivian's knees weakened. Vera's eyes widened in fear. Teacher Caro, far away at the school, was still at home relaxing, not knowing the police were already on their way. And Junior's condition, nobody could say if he would survive the next few minutes. The sound of the police siren grew louder as it came closer to the compound. At first, some people thought it was an ambulance. Others thought it was just a police car passing by on the main road. But when the sound stopped right in front of the house, everyone knew it was for them. People became quiet, the way people become quiet when fear enters a room. Vera's face changed. The fake confidence she had a few minutes ago disappeared like smoke. Her lips started shaking. She looked left and right like a rat looking for a hole. Onyeka was still holding her arm tightly. "Don't move," he warned her, his voice rough. "Not after what you did." Vivian stood behind Onyeka, breathing fast. Her eyes were red and her whole body was trembling. She wanted to shout, she wanted to slap someone, but her mind was too confused. All she could think about was her son. "Junior," she whispered, "where is my baby?" Then it hit her again like a slap. Junior was still in danger. He was not just in danger, he was already suffering. And they were wasting time shouting and arguing. Vivian turned suddenly and ran toward the front. "The car," she cried. "Where is Junior? Somebody tell me where my son is." People began to scatter. 2 neighbors rushed toward the gate. 1 man ran to open space as if he wanted to clear the way. A woman ran inside the house to check the sitting room again. Vivian ran to Onyeka's car and pulled the door open with shaking hands. Junior was inside. He was lying on the back seat, small and weak, and his eyes were half open like he was struggling to stay awake. He looked like a child that was fighting sleep but losing. Vivian screamed loudly. "My baby!" she cried and climbed into the car, pulling him into her arms. Onyeka ran to them immediately. His chest was heavy, his head was spinning. He wanted to carry Junior again, but he also wanted to keep holding Vera and make sure she did not escape. "What do we do now?" Onyeka asked, his voice breaking. "Should we drive him to the hospital now?" A man from the crowd shouted, "Yes, drive him now, don't waste time." Another person shouted, "No, wait, police are here, they will help." Vivian did not want to hear any argument. She looked at Onyeka with tears in her eyes. "Onyeka, please," she begged, "let us take him to the hospital, please." Onyeka nodded quickly. "Yes, yes, we are going now." Then he turned and shouted at the men holding Vera. "Hold her," he commanded. "Do not let her move 1 step." Vera struggled. "Onyeka, I swear I didn't do anything," she cried. "I was just talking. I was just—" Onyeka cut her off. "Shut up," he shouted. "I heard your confession." At that moment, the police officers entered the compound. 2 officers came in first, wearing serious faces. Another officer followed with a notebook in his hand. They looked around and saw the crowd, the tension, the crying woman, and the child in the car. One officer raised his hand. "Everybody calm down," he ordered. "What is happening here?" Voices began to rise. "She poisoned the child." "No, it was the neighbor." "The teacher gave him something." "She confessed." It was noise everywhere. The officer shouted again. "Silence," he commanded. "One person will speak." Onyeka stepped forward with anger in his eyes. "Officer," he said quickly, "this woman, Vera, planned this thing. She paid my son's teacher to give him a powder. My son ate it inside soup and started getting very sick." Vera screamed, "Lie! He is lying." The officer looked at Vera sharply. "Madam, keep quiet," he warned. Then the officer looked at Onyeka. "Where is the child?" he asked. Vivian cried from the car, her voice shaking. "He is here. He is dying. Please help us." The police officer rushed to the car, saw Junior's weak body, and his face became serious. "Get him to the hospital now," he said. "Now." Onyeka did not waste time. He jumped into the driver's seat. Vivian sat behind with Junior in her arms, crying and praying under her breath. But before Onyeka could start the car, another officer stopped him. "Wait," he said. "We will escort you, and we need an address for the nearest hospital." Onyeka nodded and started the engine with shaking hands. The police officer spoke into his radio quickly. Another police car moved in front, clearing the road. As the car began to move, Vivian looked back through the rear window. She saw Vera still being held by 2 men. She saw the police officers questioning people. She saw neighbors pointing at Vera like she was a monster. Vivian did not feel happy. She did not feel victory. She only felt pain. Because even if Vera was caught, her child was still struggling in her arms. As the car drove fast, Vivian kept checking Junior's face. "Junior," she whispered softly, trying to sound calm even when her heart was breaking. "My baby, stay with Mommy. Please stay with me." Junior's small lips moved slightly, but he did not speak. Vivian kissed his forehead again and again. Onyeka's eyes were on the road, but his mind was not on the road. His head was full of guilt. He remembered how he looked at Vivian with anger. He remembered how he believed Vera's lie for even 1 second. He remembered the way Vivian cried and begged him to trust her, and he refused to speak. Now he felt ashamed. "Vivian," he called softly, his voice low like a man begging. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Vivian did not answer, not because she did not hear him, but because she did not have strength to talk. Everything in her life at that moment was Junior. She did not know if her child would survive, so how could she talk about apology? Onyeka blinked hard to stop tears from falling as he drove. Inside the car, Junior's pocket was pressed against Vivian's hand as she held him tight. Then Vivian felt something inside his pocket, something small. She froze. "What is this?" she whispered. Carefully, with one hand supporting Junior, she used her other hand to check his pocket. And she felt it. A tiny nylon. Vivian pulled it out slowly. It was the same kind of tiny nylon people use to hold small powder. But this one was almost empty, like the powder inside had already been poured out. Vivian's stomach turned, her heart beat faster. "Onyeka," she cried, look at this." Onyeka glanced quickly in the mirror. "What is it?" he asked. Vivian held up the tiny nylon. Her hand was shaking so badly. "This was in Junior's pocket," she said. This is not mine. I did not put this there." Onyeka's face went hard. He understood immediately. This small nylon was proof. This was the evidence that Vivian had been telling the truth. And that meant Junior did not poison himself by mistake. Somebody gave him that thing. Somebody planned it. Vivian looked down at Junior and whispered urgently, "Junior, who gave you this?" Junior's eyes opened a little, but his voice did not come out. Vivian tried again, her voice breaking. "Junior, my baby, who gave you this nylon? Was it your teacher?" Junior's small head moved slightly, like he was trying to nod. Vivian's tears dropped on his face. "Oh God," she whispered. "Oh God." Onyeka gripped the steering wheel harder, his jaw tightened, his eyes turned red with anger. "Teacher Caro," he muttered. "So it is true." While Onyeka and Vivian were rushing to the hospital, the police officers were still at the compound. The crowd did not want to leave. Everybody wanted to watch. Everybody wanted to talk. Everybody wanted to be part of the drama. Vera was crying now, but her crying did not look like the crying of someone who was innocent. It looked like the crying of someone who had been caught. One officer asked her a question. "Madam, did you pay anybody to harm this child?" Vera shook her head fast. No, I did not pay anybody," she cried. "They are lying against me. Onyeka is angry because I'm his ex." The officer looked at her without pity. "Then why did the man say he heard you confess?" he asked. Vera's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out fast enough. Another officer looked at the neighbors. "Who heard her confession?" he asked. A few men raised their hands. "We heard her," one man said. "She was behind the house, talking on phone. She said the teacher gave the boy powder." The officer wrote it down. Then he asked, "What is the name of the teacher?" "Teacher Caro," many people answered at once. The officer's face became colder. He turned to another policeman and spoke quickly. "Go to the school now," he ordered. "Find this Teacher Caro. Bring her in." At that same time, far away, Teacher Caro was at home, sitting down and scrolling on her phone like nothing happened. She had even started thinking about what she would buy with the money. New phone, new wig, new bag. She smiled to herself, then her phone vibrated. A message entered. It was from Vera. But it was not the normal kind of message. It was short. It was full of fear. "They heard me. Police are coming. Delete everything." Teacher Caro sat up straight. Her smile disappeared. "What?" she whispered. Her hands began to shake. She quickly checked her missed calls. Many calls. Some from unknown numbers, some from her school. Her heart started pounding like a drum. "What is going on?" she whispered again. Then her doorbell rang. Teacher Caro froze. The ringing came again, louder. Her eyes moved around the room like she was looking for where to hide. Then she heard a loud knock. "Open the door," a strong voice shouted from outside. "Police!" Teacher Caro's whole body turned cold. She stood up slowly, her legs weak like paper. Her phone slipped from her hand and fell to the floor. She bent quickly to pick it up. Her mind was screaming one thing: run. But where could she run to? The knocking came again. "Open now," the voice shouted. Teacher Caro looked toward her back window. It was not too high. If she jumped, but would she break her leg? Would the neighbors see her? Would the police chase her? Her breathing became fast. Tears entered her eyes, not because she felt sorry, but because she was afraid. She moved one step toward the back window, and at the same time, her front door shook hard, as if someone was about to break it open. Teacher Caro stopped. Her mind was spinning. Outside, the police officer raised his hand again, ready to force the door. And inside the car on the highway, Vivian held the tiny empty nylon tightly, staring at it like it was the thing that stole her whole life. She looked down at Junior and whispered again, begging him. "Junior, please talk. Tell Mommy who gave you this. Please." Junior's eyes moved slowly, his lips opened slightly. A sound almost came out. Vivian leaned closer, desperate to hear him. And Onyeka pressed the horn hard as they entered the hospital road, shouting for people to clear the way. But before Vivian could hear the word Junior was trying to say, Junior's small body suddenly went very still in her arms. Vivian's eyes widened. "Junior," she whispered in fear. "Junior, no, no, please." And Onyeka shouted, panicking now, "Doctor, help us, please, somebody help my son." The hospital gate was right ahead. The police siren behind them screamed louder, and at Teacher Caro's house, the door finally gave a loud crack, as if it was about to burst open. Onyeka's car rushed into the hospital road like a man running away from fire. The police vehicle behind them kept blowing the siren, forcing other cars to move aside. Vivian sat at the back seat, holding Junior tight on her lap, shaking like a leaf. "Junior, my baby, please open your eyes," Vivian whispered again and again. Junior was very weak. His head rested on Vivian's arm. His body felt too light, like he was not fully there. Vivian's tears dropped on his cheeks. Onyeka's hands were tight on the steering wheel. His eyes were red. His heart was beating too fast. "Please, God," he said in a low voice, "don't take my son." The car finally entered the hospital compound. Onyeka did not even park well. He stopped the car quickly, jumped out, and shouted, "Help, doctor, nurse, please help my child." Vivian came out too, still holding Junior. Her legs almost failed her, but she forced herself to move. People at the hospital turned. A nurse ran out first. "What happened?" the nurse asked. "He suddenly got very sick after eating soup," Onyeka said fast. "Please help him." Another nurse came with a stretcher. Vivian wanted to hold Junior and never let him go, but they had to place him on the stretcher. "No, please, let me hold him," Vivian cried. "Madam, you can follow us," the nurse said gently. "We need space to help him." Vivian followed them like a shadow, crying, praying, and calling Junior's name. They rushed Junior into the emergency room. Onyeka ran behind them. The police officers who escorted them also entered the hospital compound and stood outside the emergency area, watching everything. Inside the emergency room, doctors moved fast. Nurses brought tools. Somebody placed an oxygen mask. Somebody checked his heartbeat. Somebody asked questions. Onyeka answered quickly, breathing hard. Vivian could not answer anything. She was crying too much. At one point, a doctor came out and looked at them. "We need to know what he took," the doctor said. "If it is food poison or something else. Do you have anything? Any medicine? Any substance?" Vivian suddenly remembered the tiny nylon. Her hands shook as she brought it out from her wrapper pocket. "This," she said, "this was in his pocket. It was almost empty. I think he poured it inside the soup." The doctor collected it carefully like it was gold. "Where did he get this?" the doctor asked. Vivian tried to speak, but her voice broke. I don't know," she said. "He is only 3. Onyeka stepped forward, eyes full of anger and pain. "We suspect his teacher gave him something," Onyeka said, "and my neighbor planned it." The doctor nodded. "Okay, we will do our best, but please stay calm." Then the doctor went back inside. Vivian held Onyeka's shirt and cried like a child. "Onyeka, I didn't do it," she kept repeating. "I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do it." Onyeka's throat tightened. He remembered how he accused her in front of everyone. He remembered how he looked away when she begged him to trust her. He now felt like the worst husband in the world. He held Vivian's shoulders and spoke softly. "I know," he said, his voice shaking. "I know now. I'm sorry. I was blind." Vivian looked up at him, eyes swollen. "Sorry cannot bring back my baby," she cried. Onyeka's eyes filled with tears too. "I know," he replied, "but please, let him survive first." They sat down in the waiting area. Time started moving slowly like a tired snail. 5 minutes felt like 1 hour. 10 minutes felt like 1 day. Vivian could not stop shaking. The police officer stood close and asked Onyeka questions quietly. "Sir, you said you heard Vera confess, right?" the officer asked. "Yes," Onyeka answered. "I heard her with my own ears. She said the teacher gave my son the powder. She said she planned it to blame my wife." "Do you know the teacher's full name?" the officer asked. Onyeka swallowed. "They call her Teacher Caro. I don't know her surname," The officer nodded. We are already on it. Officers went to the school and her house. Vivian listened with fear. So, Vera really did this, she asked in a broken voice, because she hated me? The officer sighed. Madam, we will confirm everything properly, but we have enough reason to hold her and question her. Vivian's body weakened again. She covered her mouth and cried quietly. While Vivian and Onyeka waited in the hospital, the police reached Teacher Caro's house. Teacher Caro was still inside, shaking. She had tried to delete messages. Her fingers could not even press the screen well because her hands were trembling so much. The knocking became louder. Open the door now, a police voice shouted. Teacher Caro backed away like a frightened goat. No, please, she whispered to herself. Then the door finally opened, not because she wanted it, but because the police forced it. 2 officers entered quickly. Teacher Caro screamed and raised her hands. I didn't do anything, she cried. Please, I didn't do anything. One officer held her wrist firmly. Madam, you are under arrest, he said. For what? She cried, pretending she didn't know. For conspiracy to harm a child, the officer replied, and for taking money to do it. Teacher Caro began crying harder. I only gave him something small, she cried. I didn't know it would be like this. The officer's eyes went cold. You didn't know. You gave a 3-year-old a substance and told him to put it in food. You knew what you were doing. Teacher Caro shook her head, crying. It was Vera, she said suddenly. She is the one. She said the wife took her man. She said I should help her. She promised money. I was desperate. The officers looked at each other. So you admit it, the officer said. Teacher Caro cried louder. Yes, I admit it. But please don't let me suffer alone. Vera planned everything. The officer pulled out his radio. We have her, he said. She is confessing. Bring her to the station. Teacher Caro's legs became weak. She dropped to the floor, but the police pulled her up and took her away. Back at Vivian's house, Vera had been taken into the police van already. But she was still shouting. They are lying against me, she cried. Vivian is the one. Vivian did it. But now the police officer's phone rang. He answered it. His face changed. He looked at Vera and asked her calmly, So you want to keep lying? Vera's eyes widened. What are you talking about? She asked. The officer spoke clearly. Your partner, Teacher Caro, has been arrested. She confessed. She said you paid her. She said you told her what to do. Vera's mouth opened. No words came out. For the first time, Vera looked truly afraid. Officer, she stammered, that girl is lying. She is trying to save herself. The officer shook his head. You will explain everything at the station. Vera started crying and begging. Please, she said, her voice breaking, don't do this to me. Onyeka is my ex. I was angry. I didn't mean, save it, the officer replied. Tell your story where it matters. The police drove away with Vera. At the hospital, Vivian's heart was still in her throat. Then, after what felt like forever, the emergency room door opened. A doctor stepped out. Vivian jumped up immediately. How is my baby? She cried. Onyeka stood beside her, holding his breath. The doctor looked serious, but there was something hopeful in his eyes. He is stable now, the doctor said. Vivian froze. Stable? Is he alive? Vivian asked, afraid of the answer. Yes, the doctor replied. He is alive. He is still weak, but he responded to treatment. Vivian's knees almost gave way. She held Onyeka's arm quickly. Onyeka breathed out like a man that had been holding his breath under water. Thank you, Jesus, Onyeka whispered. Vivian began crying again, but this time it was not only fear. It was relief. Can I see him? Vivian begged. The doctor nodded. You can see him, but only for a short time. He needs rest. Vivian entered first. Onyeka followed. Junior was lying on a small bed. There were tubes attached to help him. His face looked tired. But he was breathing. Vivian walked slowly to his side, afraid she would wake him. My baby, she whispered and touched his small hand. Junior's fingers moved slightly. Vivian's heart melted. Mommy is here, she whispered. Mommy is here. Junior's eyes opened a little. He looked at Vivian weakly. Then he whispered something very small. Vivian leaned closer. What, my baby? Say it again. Junior's lips moved again. Auntie? Caro, he said, almost like a breath. Vivian covered her mouth. Tears dropped again. Onyeka heard it too. His face became hard again, not from doubt, but from anger. I heard it, Onyeka whispered. I heard it. The doctor looked at them. Did he mention a name? Onyeka nodded. Yes. Teacher Caro. The doctor sighed. Then the police must handle it fully. We will write our medical report. It will help. Vivian kissed Junior's forehead gently. My baby, rest, she whispered. You will be fine. Later that night, Onyeka went to the police station with one officer, while Vivian stayed in the hospital with Junior. At the station, Vera sat on a bench, looking tired and broken. Teacher Caro sat on another bench, crying softly. When Vera saw Onyeka enter, her eyes widened. Onyeka, she whispered, please listen to me. Onyeka did not answer her. He walked straight to the officer in charge. The officer brought out statements. He also brought out Teacher Caro's phone that had messages. The officer did not read everything loud, but Onyeka could see enough. Vera and Teacher Caro had planned it. They talked about the powder. They talked about how Vivian would be blamed. They even talked about Onyeka turning against Vivian. Onyeka's hands shook with anger as he read. He turned to Vera. You used my child, he said, voice low and dangerous. You used my son to fight my wife. Vera started crying. I loved you, she said. I was angry. I wanted you back. Onyeka's eyes burned. You don't know what love is, he replied. If you knew love, you would not touch an innocent child. Teacher Caro started begging too. Sir, please, she cried, forgive me. I was broke. I needed money. Onyeka looked at her like she was nothing. You sold your conscience, he said. You used a child for money. The officer in charge spoke firmly. We will charge both of them, he said. They will face the law. Onyeka nodded once and signed what he needed to sign. When Onyeka returned to the hospital, he found Vivian asleep on a chair beside Junior's bed. Her head was leaning on the wall. Her face looked swollen from crying. Onyeka stood there quietly, watching them. His wife, his son, his family. He almost lost everything because he listened to the wrong person. He stepped closer and gently touched Vivian's shoulder. Vivian opened her eyes slowly and sat up. Onyeka, she whispered. Onyeka nodded. It is done, he said softly. They arrested Vera and Teacher Caro. Teacher Caro confessed. Vera's messages are there. Everything is clear. Vivian closed her eyes and breathed out. So it was true, she whispered. Onyeka knelt beside her chair. Vivian, he said, voice shaking, I am sorry. I should have protected you. I should have trusted you. I failed you. Vivian stared at him for a long time. Then she looked at Junior. Junior was still weak, but he was alive. Vivian's voice came out tired. I don't even have strength to fight you now, she said. I only want my son to live. Onyeka nodded quickly. Yes, he replied, that is all that matters. He held Vivian's hand gently. Vivian did not pull away. Not because she had forgiven everything, but because in that moment they were both holding on to the same prayer. Junior must survive. The next morning, the hospital room was quieter. Junior was still sleeping, but his breathing looked better. A nurse entered and checked him carefully. He is improving, the nurse said. He is a strong boy. Vivian smiled weakly, tears filling her eyes again. Thank you, she whispered. Onyeka stood near the window looking outside, but his mind was full of thoughts. Vera would not stop. Even in police custody, people like Vera could still try to hurt them. Onyeka turned back and looked at Vivian. Vivian, he said quietly, when Junior gets well, we may need to leave that area. We need peace. We need safety. Vivian looked at him, tired but listening. Before she could answer, Junior's eyes opened slowly. He looked around like he was searching. Mommy, he whispered. Vivian rushed to him and held his hand. Yes, my baby, she said. Mommy is here. Junior's lips moved again, and he said something that made Vivian's heart tighten. Sweet, tomorrow. Vivian froze for a second. Even after everything, Junior still remembered the sweet promise. That showed how innocent he was. That showed how easy it was for an adult to trick a child. Vivian held him tighter. No more secrets, she whispered, kissing his hand. No more. Onyeka watched them and swallowed hard. Outside the hospital room, a police officer walked toward them with a serious face. Mr. Onyeka, the officer said, we need you to come and identify something. And also, there is a new development about Miss Vera. Onyeka's heart dropped again. What new development? He asked. The officer's face stayed serious. She is refusing to talk now, the officer said, and she is claiming she has people who will help her escape this case. Onyeka felt cold fear enter his body. Vivian heard it too. Her eyes widened. "What?" she whispered. The officer nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "So you both need to be careful. This matter is not fully finished." Vivian held Junior closer. Onyeka's jaw tightened, and in that moment they both understood one hard truth. Even though Vera and Teacher Caro had been caught, the danger was not completely over yet.